Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I am working on a garden journal and I thought I would just do a video while I'm sitting here at my desk. I'm in the dining room. I miss going out to the workshop. I haven't been out there in a few days to really work. I did go out and check on everything and it looks good and it smells good. I have a number of candles out there and sometimes I burn those while I'm out there. I also have a really nice, it's from Christmas, but it's sort of a fir scented. It's a diffuser with the reeds in it, and it just smells so good out there. Plus, I have been running the dehumidifier, so everything feels really good out there. Anyway, my hands, I bet they look kind of rough. I have been out gardening all afternoon. I'm going to be talking while I fold some pages. I have all of these mostly pre-cut to 8 by 8 inches. And there are a few that might be a little more narrow because they're more narrow. They were smaller than 8 inches across to start with, but I still wanted to use those, and you will see those when I get to them. I have a few other things I want to use. I love vintage items in my journals. This is a Jane Davenport folder. It's a little portfolio. It did come with one notebook in it with just plain paper, and those pages open are perfectly 8 by 8 inches. So I'm going to put that back in here, but I'm also going to add my garden journal. And again, I'm going to be talking while I fold these pages. Gardening is one of my favorite things to do. And the old house that I raised my children in, that's the only house they ever knew. It was an old house. It was pushing 100 years old. And then over the course of 10 years, I brought 10. I wanted 10 children. I'm sure that's why I said that. I brought 4 new babies home to that house. So I had Daniel, and then about 2.5 years later, I had Joseph. About 3 years later, I had John, and about 4 years later, I had Michaela. And if you hear that span of years, it sounds like I was getting less and less brave, and I might have been. They became a little more spaced out as the years went by, and I mean spaced out in age span. I became more spaced out in my mind, probably because it's very busy raising children. And to have 4 that age, it was busy all the time. I pulled this out because there is a little tear on this page, and I want to just fix that while I see it. I love this. This is wrapping paper. I want this to be full of butterflies and just all things nature. If I can find a dragonfly or 2 to put in here and a bee or 2, I will definitely be doing that. I love vintage ephemera. This is an old canning book that I found, just a little like 8-page booklet that talks about canning. And I always think about canning and preserving when I'm out in the garden, just doing what I can. I've never been a big canner, I guess. My mom does some. But anyway, getting back to the old house. I left that house about almost 10 years ago. And my ex-husband gave me 4 beautiful, beautiful children. I will never regret having those babies. And I will never regret all of the difficult steps, the tears, the years that brought me to where I am right now. I am not going to say much except that I had to leave. And I left for my health and my well-being and my safety. One of the things that was hardest for me to leave was the garden. I had a magical garden, and it wasn't just me, although I did leave my mark on that yard. It it grew into what I envisioned it to be as I spent the hours and hours out there working. These little pages are from an old children's book, by the way, a nature book. In addition to my vision for the garden, I was blessed with what they call black gold in Orange County, North Carolina. Now, there is some red soil there. We've got some red dirt in Orange County, but somehow the dirt that I was using, it would just grow anything. And early on, my ex-husband helped me set up a compost system. We never had one of those barrels that you turn or anything like that. We had a plot that was probably 4 feet by 4 feet, maybe 5 by 5, something like that. He always worked in it, or he had the boys to do it. But we had one ditch for compost, and we threw our vegetable scraps out there, and coffee grounds, and any kind of, some of the plant-based material. If I had really invasive plants, I didn't put them in there when I pulled them out. And every few months, I would need soil for the garden, and where everything had been decomposing, I would dig out of that. I guess I should back up and say that we had to give it, I mean, it took a good year for this stuff to start breaking down, softening up the ground in the backyard, which was really hard. You couldn't even dig that soil, so it was a really big difference in that part of the yard and the part that I gardened in. I do know that the house used to be part of a larger a garden, like a house, an old house. It was one of the oldest houses, and there was a garden there, so it could have been that the soil had just been enriched. And I know at one point the roads were dirt roads, and I imagine you had manure from animals and things like that that were used to compost the gardens. And those of you who don't know what a mother's journal, or AMJ, is, I kept a really active journal online for a long time. I homeschooled my kids, and we did lesson plans on there. I had a lot of things on there. I'm kind of rambling, but anyway, I'm going to try. A mother's journal now points to a bit of birdsong. I'm going to do my best to incorporate blogging and photographs. Part of the reason that a mother's journal just keeps going by the wayside is that it's painful for me. And I feel really stuck when I go to that blog. That blog represents a really different part of my life. When I left the old house, I left an abusive situation. Now, I will never, ever speak badly in public of my ex-husband. He gave me 4 beautiful children, and I know his good qualities better than anyone. My children manifest some of those really good qualities. But I had to leave for my safety and for my sanity. Anyway, the garden was hard to leave, and it's been hard for me to really dig my heels in where I am now with my dear, sweet, wonderful Jason. It's hard for me, it has been hard for me to dig my heels in and really garden. There's something about having something so wonderful and having it like just plucked from you, a lifestyle that you've been trying to achieve, dreams and goals, and feeling like you're pulling a cart by yourself. I'm kind of rambling, but many of you who visited a mother's journal for so many years, you will know some of the things I'm talking about. So today I dug my heels in, and I've done a little bit of gardening here. You all have seen some of it. I have some little spots that I like. We have a beautiful yard. I have a little bit of a garden in the back. I'm working on a garden in front of my workshop. But today I got outside and I really, really worked on the front yard. I think I'm going to stagger these little pages here. I like the looks of that a lot. And then let's put this here and let that sort of be over that. Not a whole lot more to put in here. I'm not sure if I want that there. I'm really rambling tonight. But I did a lot tonight, and my mother, who is just, to me, she is the queen of beautiful. She is the queen of beautiful things. She is so neat. She's so wonderful. She has a beautiful yard and garden, and she has the sweetest little greenhouse ever. She had given me some potted plants from her yard not too long ago, but it's been months, and they've been sitting in the front garden just waiting to be planted. Well, tonight I worked really long and hard. I should say today, but it was evening when I finished up. I worked really long and hard on that garden bed, and I've arrived at where I can say this is my garden. So I'm putting together a garden journal to go in here so that I can keep notes of, you know, how things are growing, what I've planted, and where it's planted. I used to do that in the old garden. You notice that when you cut all the pages the same size, you have some sticking out. I usually just pull out about the first, maybe the first 5 or 6. I'm going to go trim those down just a little bit so that we don't have that. There, that looks better. This is going to be a quick process, really. I just wanted enough pages to be able to glue things into, take notes, you know, just stick things into my gardening journal. There's the one that was already in there. I will be putting that back in. Now, let's sew this up. Let's bind it, in other words. Okay, I gotta be quick. Jason and I have a pizza in the oven. There's 1, 2, 3. I usually pull off about 3 lengths of what the journal is. See if I can get this threaded real quick. This is some jute, and I'm not gonna have the charms. Well, I changed my mind. I was gonna say I'm not gonna have them hanging on the outside, but I might. I'm not really sure yet. I have a couple of different awls that I use. I really like this one. This one, I think it might be kind of old. And if I'm using a heavy cord like jute, I like this one because it makes the holes big enough for me to get that needle through. What am I going to do? I'm going to go inside first because I want these to, I want it to tie on the inside. Sometimes I start from the other direction because I really like having the beads hanging on the outside. So I'm going about halfway between that center hole and the edge. And where are you, needle? See if we can push that through. There it is. My hands look really dry. I have washed them like crazy because of this virus. You know, I mean, hopefully I don't have it, but just the risk of it. And, you know, we've been told to wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands. Jason and I are being very careful. I do have to work. So far, I'm in a retail environment, and thus far our doors are still open, and I love where I work. I want to do everything I can to support the scrap exchange. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be as safe as I can for my sake and everyone else's. So let's pull this one through. And we'll just have a look here. Now let's tie this. But yeah, I've been rambling. Leaving my garden at the old house, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I mean, I cried real tears of sorrow, and I've cried tears too for all of it, for the marriage, for the life. Anyway, I'm very happy with where I am currently, and I just move forward. I think that's the best thing to do. We make our decisions, and we just go forward. All right, so let's tie this. I always put a little drop of glue Got a little more than I wanted to that time, but it's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. I can just get the excess off there. And now I have, of course, kind of a big knot in there because I did use jute, but that's okay. That's okay, and I love this. So this is a print that I found. This is some really pretty scrapbook paper. This is from a vintage canning guide, and I love that. There's another print, room to write there. This is some really pretty wrapping paper. There's more scrapbook paper, and I love this. That is a vintage children's book page. And the canning page again. There's a beautiful piece of vellum over that. This is from a paper stack called The Garden, I think, or Garden Party or something. Maybe I can look that up. And then there is another page from the children's book. There's some pretty scrapbook paper. You know, now that I look at it, I don't even know if that is right side up. I think it is. Yeah, it is. And then the canning book, the nature book. Look at the handwriting in that the canning guide. I love that. There's a pretty old, this was from the inside of this Culpepper's, which I used to have that whole book. I don't know how I ended up with just part of a book. I got rid of a large book collection when I moved from the old house. Pizza, pizza, pizza. Yeah, so I really like the way this turned out. So beautiful, and I can't wait to start using it. I'm going to start with my notes from today. I've rambled so much, I'm not even sure what I've said. If I didn't mention the loss of my blog, A Mother's Journal, I'm going to do my best to incorporate journaling, blogging, pictures at abitofbirdsong.com. My life is not the same. I'm not the same person I was. I am the same Lynn. I'm the same person. My faith, my heart towards others, so many things are exactly the same, but I have been tried in a way that I couldn't even put into words. And I've been hurt, but I continue to move forward, and I am in such a happy place now. Such a happy place. So let's see. Let's put these books in here. Let's see if this works out. This one's so pretty. I want it to be the one in the front. And those strings, I'm going to leave those, the binding cords, I'm going to leave those just like they are for right now. I'm probably going to glue some little things on them, but I don't know yet. I could put beads on there. I really could, because that's long enough. Yeah, let's see what happens. So then let's put the blank one back here. And that gives me 2 places to take notes. So this is the current garden journal, and oh my gosh, I love it already. I've got a few pieces of ephemera that are probably going to work their way into the book. I thought about putting that envelope in, but it didn't make it, did it? Let's see, and Jane Davenport, I love this. That's really, really pretty. Some things I have found lately that I want to put in here. I've got quite a few stamps. These, I love these. I found this on the ephemera table. I buy some ephemera every once in a while, and I love this old tape. You can hear Jason noodling around on the guitar in the next room. He's amazing. He's just goofing off. That's not even, I don't know if you can hear him. It makes my heart sing to hear him play. So I love this old tape. These will probably work their way into the journal. So I'm gonna quit rambling. I will show you a before and after of one of the garden beds that I did. And so this is the before. It was taken over with weeds. Oh my goodness. I had a mosaic board bath just laying on the dirt. I went ahead and weeded that entire bed and brought in about 4 or 5 wheelbarrow loads of really rich soil from where I have set up a compost area in the backyard here. And it's been maturing over about 2 or 3 years, so it's starting to get some really good dirt in it. And then I brought some pine straw to be a free mulch. It's really useful. We have a lot of that in the backyard. So this is where I am so far. I did put a few new plants in the ground from my sweet, dear, precious mother, and I'm just anxious to see how they grow. Have 3 or 4 more garden beds that I really want to tackle, and I'll be sure and share pictures of that. With that, I am going to close, and maybe I'll journal a little bit in this tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you really soon. Bye for now.